Welcome to another episode of the Modern Day Healer. I am Dana Hayes, your host, and today I am so excited to talk to you about how to actually get to the depth and the place within where you feel so freaking grounded in who you are, what you're here to teach, what you're embodying, right? And without having to constantly jump from modality to modality in the healing world. Like there is a smorgasbord out there, okay, in the spiritual market, and people are selling everything. They're selling nervous system regulation. They are selling sound healing. They're selling sacred rituals and ceremonies and Reiki healing, yoga, all sorts of things. And these are all beautiful paths in themselves, okay? But what I want to kind of point you towards is the one path that all of these paths are inherently supposed to be directing people towards. And if they don't, and if you don't get to this golden path that I'm talking about, you're going to probably end up feeling like something's missing. Like you just didn't get far enough. Like there was one more step to take and it wasn't taken. And so what happens is I see thousands of coaches at this point jumping around trying to figure themselves out, which right there is an issue because you're already figured out. Okay. You have nothing to actually figure out. You yourself cannot figure this out because you are already figured out. So, what do we need to do in order to feel that? On a visceral level, how do we actually feel so deeply that we are integrated with who we are at the core, our infinite nature, our soul? How do we feel so integrated with that part of ourselves that as we walk this path, right, we no longer question ourselves? There's no more doubt. There's no more uncertainty on our path. We're just like, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm here to do, and I know how I'm going to do it. And I will never, ever have to try to figure it out through another method or modality ever freaking again. The way to do that is by getting to the core of it all from the get-go. And I feel really lucky because I feel like I was given that gift, that opportunity in order to experience that depth from the get-go. That you can only get from one place, right? And you're going to hear me talking about this all the time because to me, it's my experience and it's how I changed. It's how I actually grew. It's how I stopped learning and actually started feeling completely different about my life, about my relationships, about my business, about what I'm here to do. And it gave me so much clarity and conviction on my path that it's like, I literally cannot be stopped. Like, I can't stop myself. I feel like a train that is just moving. Like I am just trucking and I don't know what the end destination is and I don't really care. Like my end goal, I think, is literally just to turn as many of you on to the fact that you yourself are the path, right? So that you're able to get to that depth and that weight, right? That message, that mission, that depth and that weight that is necessary in order to be the example of certainty for other people so that they can see that they too are a path, right? Back to their infinite nature. And they're also a path for other people. And this is how we create that ripple effect that we're always talking about in the coaching industry. This is how we create that that movement where we're being a light, right? We're being the example. That's what a modern day healer is. A modern day healer is just the example of living in their highest frequency that is possible for them at this point in time as a human being, right? As a spiritual being living as a human and being able to show people the possibilities of what is available to them if they were to do the same thing, if they were to take a similar path, if they were able to see that they too are a path back home, and to actually follow that and follow through with it. and do what's necessary and to stop doing everything that's unnecessary is probably the biggest clincher here, in order to feel that on a visceral level so that they're able to also affect other people for the better, for the positive in this world. And this is that chain reaction. It's like, okay, you become the healer, right? You become the path. You show other people what's possible through your actions, through your behaviors, through your emotional state, right? And they begin to turn themselves on to the same truth, and they get to do the same thing for other people. We are all a path. Billions of people, each of us a path back home to what we've always been and we will always be, right? Okay. So I see lots of people jumping from modality to modality, which is fine, but also because that's ultimately, like, I'm pretty sure God, higher power, source, universe, whatever you want to call it, has this whole thing figured out. Like me, I'm just here as a mouthpiece. I'm just here as a vessel to kind of contribute what I'm here to contribute. And what I feel I'm here to contribute is this. Okay. But I also believe wholeheartedly that I I don't have to figure any of this out, and neither do you. So if you've been on this path of switching modalities, obviously nothing wrong with that. And it's brought you right to this moment in time. So here we are having this conversation, and I hope you realize how pivotal this could be and how essential this could be to your path, because really it's like everything happens the way that it's meant to be, and you know that. So here we go. If you've been jumping around, okay, no problem. What do we need to do in order to stop jumping around and to find the depth and the weight and the meaning of life that lives inside of you right this second without ever having to jump to another method or modality ever again? What is the one path all of these methods and all of these modalities are leading to at the end of the day, or should be anyway? And if they're not, you need to take that next step onto that next path, right? Onto the golden path. What they are all leading you to do is become to put yourself into a true relationship with your higher power, period. Your higher power is the source of all of your power, right? So when you outsource that power and you believe that a healing modality or a method is going to give you this sense of empowerment that you're really ultimately looking for from it, right? At the end of the day, you are looking to feel fully empowered so that you're able to empower other people. But if it doesn't give it to you, if you don't feel fully integrated, if you feel like, okay, I got a little relief, but it's still not the thing. I'm still living in trauma. I'm still feeling like I'm living in fear. And so ultimately, I'm not able to walk my talk, right? Or I'm not practicing what I preach. Then I believe that what's happening is there has not been a full surrender, right? There has not been a full allowance, a trust, and a reliance on your higher power to do what you cannot do for yourself, what you're trying to do by testing out and jumping down all of these method and modality rabbit holes, right? And again, I want to say, like, these methods and modalities are beautiful things. I use them, I love them, I know them intimately, but they're not the thing. The thing that they are trying to bring you back to is relationship, a true, deep understanding and integration with your higher power, the source of everything that you are. So, we got to bring this back to basics, right? We got to we really have to concentrate this and get away from all of the complicated everything. Like, nervous system regulation was not a thing, 150,000 years ago when humans were, first a thing on the face of the planet. It just wasn't. And of course, healing, I don't think really was either. But I digress. Like, we're here, we're evolved, we are evolving, and it's a beautiful part of that evolution. However, let's bring it back to basics. Like, let's stop overcomplicating because at this point, I feel like it is just being overcomplicated. And it's obviously not like I'm picking on nervous system regulation because it's the thing right now. It's like the topic, but people are still feeling like they're missing something, like there's a missing link. They go through all of these motions, they go through all of these programs, and there's still a missing link. It's like, yes, I am full of inspiration right now. And I'm full of all of this quote unquote knowledge, right? But really, most of this is still mind made. It's still coming from the mind. It's like I am, when I say the mind, I don't mean the big mind, the infinite mind. I'm talking about like the brain, right? That's this part of us, this tool, this beautiful tool that we have that is ultimately going to die when our bodies die. We want to tap into the higher part of ourselves. We want to tap into the infinite part of ourselves that is not going to die when our body dies. That is the mind that we want to be thinking from. Because when we get to that place, when we stop trying to figure all of this out with our little brains, right? And we let this infinite mind, which we are an extension of, therefore you have that infinite mind within you, right? But it's making that switch from the finite mind, the brain, or the egoic mind, right, to the infinite mind, to the spiritual mind, to the part of you. This is what they're talking about, like in the Bible, when they talk about that Christ-like part of you, the Christ within. That is that extension piece, that Holy Spirit piece that is inside of you, that is an extension and can never be, detached from the infinite mind of all, the source of all. And you can call that whatever you want: God, creator, source, energy. I mean, I believe it is energy, but like you can label that. You don't have to use somebody else's old conception that didn't work for you. You get to label it whatever you want. And what ultimately you're doing is you're switching your perception, right? You are switching your perception from one of finite mind, that fear-based, scared, very, very limited perspective that is born of your past, by the way. Like, that's how big that perspective is. It's like this big. It is so small. It's based off of your 30, 40, 50, 60 years of life, right? It's based off of all of your experiences. And to be totally honest with you, if there are billions of people in this world, there are billions of past experiences of life, meaning there are billions of perspectives. And that means all of our perspectives are this big in the whole scheme of things. We have got to get out of that finite, limited, past experience of life perspective. It is so small. So even when you're asking questions like, how do I how do I know that I have like released all of my trauma from the past? It's like, hold on. Like, what is the bigger question here, right? The bigger question is like, what do I have to know in order for that to be possible? I have to know that I am a part of something bigger. I have to know that what I actually am is an infinite soul as opposed to a finite body. I have to know that I am indestructible. There is nothing that could actually hurt me, right? You can hurt my body for sure. That thing can be destroyed. You could kill this, but you cannot kill my spirit. You cannot kill my soul, right? So I'm actually on a core fundamental level indestructible. I am infinite. I am energy. That's what you are as well, obviously. And so when you're working from that place, all of these questions to these more minutia based all of these answers to these minutia based questions become very clear, because all of a sudden it's like not as important, right? Because you're working on a macro level when you're thinking, feeling, behaving, and then the results that you're getting are also based off this macro vision, this zoomed out understanding of what it is that you're here to do. Because what's ultimately happening is we're zooming in, right? We are focused in on and locked in on these very, very finite procedures, methods, modalities, frameworks that are not getting us through the through line, right? They're not getting us to the finish line. They're getting us really far sometimes, in some cases, almost to that finish line. But if there's no real fundamental foundational piece that is telling you that the whole point of it is to build a relationship and strengthen a relationship with your higher power, the source of literally all of your power and everything that you are, what is the point? Right? Because it's going to tap you into something deeper, but it's deeper within you. It's deeper within that finite part of yourself. And yes, you could argue that you are tapping into something deeper in that infinite part of yourself. Sure, maybe that's true. But if it's not getting to the point of like, we're giving everything, we're going to trust and rely on this higher power, understanding that our body and who we are right now, that is not a higher power. Like we're a part of it, yes, but we are not powerful without it, right? So it's understanding that without that higher power, without actually trusting, relying, and putting all of our faith into it, we are trying to run the show still. Our little bodies, our little minds, right? The finite parts of ourselves are still trying to run the show. And ultimately it creates suffering and it creates more confusion, and because it's still ego driven, it's still coming from a place of fear, it's still coming from a place of I can be destroyed, I am destructible, right? But when we understand that what our job here, and through any method or modality, our job is to actually connect with our higher power and to allow it to live through us. We all know about being vessels and instruments, right? Like we all know that. But how many of us are actually doing that? How many of us are allowing ourselves to be led? How many of us are actually saying, okay, I will do anything it takes in order to have a relationship and to have the outcomes that my higher power wants for me, as opposed to trying to dictate and play God, right? And control outcomes for myself because I still think I know what's best. That's the hardest piece for us to grasp, is that we don't know what's best. We know what's best for us in a finite way, sure. But if you are actually, and that's based off of, again, your past perspective of life. So you are basing what is best for you off of what you believe, and your beliefs are based off of what you've experienced in your life. And so you are still boxing yourself into this limited perspective. You are still limiting yourself. You're still boxing yourself and caging yourself in to this experience of life where you could be breaking completely out of that box if you were to stop trying to run the show. If you actually allowed something bigger to come in and take over and dictate what it is that you do each day, right? That's scary stuff, because you're going to be asked to do things that take real courage. Doing the thing without knowing what the outcome is going to be, that's faith, right? But then when you actually do those things and you see that they ended up being better than you could have ever planned for yourself, that's where real faith builds. And that faith in your higher power builds. But then that faith in your higher power, which is what you are an extension of, ultimately creates faith in yourself, right? That's my point. That's my point, is that everything that you want from these methods and these modalities, faith in yourself, confidence in yourself, love for yourself, fearlessness, all of these things, they are based off of your relationship with your higher power. Meaning, when you have confidence in your higher power, you have confidence in yourself, because it's what you are. It's what you are an extension of. But when you only try to get confidence in yourself, in this finite part of yourself, you're missing the big picture. And there's no actual way for you to develop that confidence without having confidence in that higher part of yourself, right? It's so limited. It's just not as big as you want it to be. And intuitively, we all know that. We know that. And that's why it still makes us question ourselves. That's why we still feel self-doubt, because we're still going, where am I not fully connected here? Why am I still not fully confident in myself? The full confidence only comes from having a connection and confidence in your higher power. because it's actually who you are. It's what you were made from. It's everything to you, right? But we're always trying to operate and trying to get our power from ourselves. And that's a very limited power supply. You've got to go to the source of the power in order to replenish that. And you have to do it consistently and on a daily basis, in my experience, because the second you don't, you will take back over, right? You're going to try to empower yourself again and again. And ultimately, you're a vessel, you're an instrument. Without your higher power, you're actually not that powerful. I know people are going to argue with me on this, but I've tried it. I mean, I've seen tons of other people try it. I've seen so many people try to have these quantum leaps and try to stop doing things that they have not been able to stop doing, right? Like for me, alcoholism. It was like I could not do that one on my own. I tried for years and years and years. And then lo and behold, I actually surrendered to something bigger than myself. And what would have taken me lifetimes happened in a split second. The obsession was relieved in a split second. That's a miracle, right? That's a quantum leap. That's where time meant zero because time obviously is a construct that we have created and it doesn't mean anything. And so, how do we do this? Like, how do we stop playing this game with ourselves where we are playing hide and seek, right, with our own empowerment? We stop trying to find it in methods and modalities and we go back to basics and we literally just go into relationship with our higher power. We trust and we rely on it. It's as simple as what it sounds like right now. It's not easy because you have to remember to do it. You have to take full accountability. You have to be willing and you have to be rigorously honest with yourself if that's going to work, right? This is where like community, this is where mentorship, this is where other people who have walked that path come in as an essential element, right? And so for you, it's like, how do we do this? It's literally, okay, what is a relationship? You're going to hear me saying this all the time too. What is a relationship? It's listening to somebody else and talking to somebody else. Like you are communicating. This is a relationship. This is how you build and strengthen a relationship. And all of those other methods and modalities like are beautiful value adds that can add so much value to this and strengthen this relationship with something bigger. But ultimately is literally just talking, praying, and, which is praying, and listening to, which is meditation, right? To your higher power. Do this every single day. Ask it for its will for you. It's that simple. And I know that it almost sounds too simple, and that's why so many people won't do it because they are going to let their ego tell them that it's complicated and that there are levels to miracles and that there's timelines on miracles, which is not true. That's just a construct of your ego and of humans, right? So it's time to get really clear on the fact that your part to play here is to go into full relationship with the infinite part of yourself, with the extension of yourself that is inextricably tied to something bigger, your higher power, to trust and rely on that higher power for every single thing that you desire in your life that you have been called to do, right? Meaning you will do whatever it asks you to do in favor of what your calling is, right? So if you've been called to start a business and be an entrepreneur and help other people, then you're asking your higher power for the ability to do its will no matter what. And that means you're going to do whatever it asks you to do. Whether that means getting sober from something, whether that means taking full responsibility for something that you have not taken responsibility for, whether that means like really asking it for guidance, right? As to what the truth is for you, what needs to be dismantled, what needs to be let go of. And for the ability to do that, right? Asking it for that guidance and to stop trying to guide yourself all of the time because ultimately you're trying to play God and it doesn't work. And we feel like something's missing. Nothing's missing at all. The only thing that is missing is possibly, right? Like this concept of following something bigger instead of following your own brain. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I feel like that was a lot. And I want to reiterate one more time that I love all of the methods and modalities that people teach. I think they're amazing and I do them myself. I have nothing against them. The only thing that I am really, really hell-bent on helping people clarify for themselves is whether or not that method or modality is getting them to the through line, to the finish line, where it's like you are now in full relationship with your higher power, the thing that is the source of everything you are, your creativity, your inspiration, like your sexuality, every single piece of you is there. It's not in any other thing, right? But these paths can be helpful for getting you to that place and strengthening that place. That's awesome. And they can absolutely be a part of your frameworks that you teach. That's beautiful, but the foundation has to be there. The foundation has to be there in order for us to be clear on what we're doing and how we're here to help other people, right? And how to actually express ourselves and be the example of what's possible for other people when we are fully self-expressed and embodied in that higher power, that higher part of ourselves. Okay, so all that aside, we have Soul Vibe coming up. This is where we are learning how to embody this higher power, how to integrate with it, how to be in relationship with it, how to actually feel so grounded in who we are, what we are, and experiencing this true healing on a visceral level so that we're able to then take this healed perspective out into our real lives in practical application, right? And share these experiences that we have, seeing life through this fundamentally spiritual perspective, giving tangibility to the intangible offers that we are creating as healers, right? That's what Soul Vibe is all about. It is about living this as a lifestyle and feeling it on a core level, becoming everything that you were always meant to become, right? Living on your highest vibration with your higher power, right? That you're capable of, becoming the vessel, really becoming becoming your soul vibe, expressing that soulfulness, expressing that unique vibration that only you have when you connect to your higher power, which is going to give you all of the clarity, all of the abundance, all of the everything that you've ever been looking for, right? In your business and in your life. And we're going to be doing this on either it's going to be next week, May 13th or May 14th. We're still working on it. It's full, but if you want to be on the wait list for when it comes out, available for sale, it is only going to be $49. And this is literally the recipe for connecting with, that I've used and that I'm going to be teaching all these beautiful women to use in order to connect to your higher power, to your power. Like there's nothing more empowering than this. Nothing. So if you want to be on the wait list, I will have a link to that in the show notes or in the bio or in the comments, wherever you're watching this, wherever you're listening to this. You will see a link and you can join the wait list. You just put your email in there and I will let you know as soon as it's available, and it will probably be available to purchase at the end of May. So I love you guys so much. And if you have any questions, obviously send them my way. And if you're watching this on YouTube or you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe, please like, please share this, please write me a review, right? If you share this, if you give it a 5-star rating, if you can just like whatever way that you're able to spread this idea of true connection with something bigger, this is going to, I really believe this is what's going to change the world. Like this is how we change the world. We share these enormous ideas, then they become your idea, and then your ideas become other people's ideas, and they share and they spread and they become bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is how we change the world. Like this is literally how we do it. So please, like that is the little teeny thing that you could do to literally change the course of history. So I would be so appreciative. And again, I love you so much. I hope you have an amazing day.